The Galactic Council chamber shimmered beneath towering glass spires, its floor a mosaic of starlight and arrogance. Representatives from 100 species debated in harmonious chaos, each voice confident that their empire, their science, their millennia of dominance had made them untouchable. At the far edge of the chamber, the delegation from Earth waited. They had arrived with no escorts, no banners, and no flourish, just 4 humans in black diplomatic uniforms, expressionless under the vast glow of alien light. The High Arbiter, a serpentine being with scales that reflected the stars, hissed the question that made the chamber rumble with laughter. "Do you humans still use combustion weapons?" The laughter spread like wildfire, deep, mocking, cruel. For the elder races, Earth was an oddity. Less than 2 centuries into interstellar awareness, still bound to physical shells instead of energy forms, still arguing among themselves over territory and identity. The humans did not answer. Their lead representative, identified only as Ambassador Hale, stood with folded hands, his silence measured. When the chamber quieted, he spoke. "We have come not for admiration but for peace. Your patrols crossed into our system last cycle. We ask that you recall them." The request was met with disdain. One counselor, a 4-eyed strategist from the Vorkan Union, leaned forward. "Peace? You mistake your position. You stand within the greatest assembly in the galaxy, and you think your fledgling species can dictate boundaries?" His tone was indulgent, like a parent humoring a stubborn child. Others nodded, muttering about human militarism and resource greed. Hale remained motionless. "We do not dictate," he said. "We simply warn." The words carried no threat, only finality, yet the chamber erupted again in derision. When the laughter subsided, a vote was called. The council ruled that the Vorkan occupation of the asteroid outpost known as Sigmabelt was within acceptable exploratory rights. Protests from the human delegation were struck from the record as emotional irrelevance. The gavel struck. Decision finalized. The session ended with applause. As the crowd dispersed, fragments of conversation drifted through the air, snide remarks about Earth's bravado, jokes about Stone Age soldiers playing Starship. The human delegation turned to leave, boots echoing against the crystalline floor. A young envoy from the E3 Confederacy caught sight of Hale's expression, blank, unreadable, like a mask carved from iron. The moment they reached the threshold, Hale paused and spoke without turning around. "You think we don't understand what you've done? You think silence means submission? Remember this moment. It will be the last time humanity asks." The doors sealed behind them. The laughter inside resumed, softer now, uncertain. In the following weeks, reports trickled through the Council's intelligence channels. Earth's shipyards operated at full capacity. Civilian industries shifted toward defense contracts. Planetary broadcasts turned encrypted. Yet most dismissed it as human panic, primitive anxiety before inevitable assimilation into galactic order. The Vorkan commander boasted that within a single cycle, the Sol system would kneel or burn. He was rewarded for expanding civilization's reach. But there were whispers even then. Freight ships reported restricted zones around Mars. Mining drones disappeared without trace. A convoy carrying raw materials from Ganymede claimed to have been shadowed by unidentified objects that moved against gravitational vectors. Council analysts laughed it off. "Human fear plays tricks," they said. "They see monsters where there are none." Still, a few diplomats grew uneasy. They studied humanity's history, records of wars fought not for conquest but for survival, conflicts where defeat had meant extinction. Every pattern revealed the same truth: humans did not surrender. They adapted. And when pushed, they retaliated without mercy. Inside the human embassy, the lights never went out. Messages flowed between silent terminals and encrypted satellites. The ambassador's final report to Earth's command contained only one sentence: "They will not listen." That night, a cold storm passed over the Council's homeworld. Its lightning illuminated the empty balcony where the human delegation had once stood. The next morning, their quarters were found vacant, no trace of departure logs, no transport signatures, only a single object left behind, a small metal emblem etched with the seal of Earth. Below it, a phrase engraved in archaic Terran script, words that no translator could soften. Asterisk. Do not mistake calm for compliance. Asterisk. The message was short, but its meaning would echo through the galaxy long after the laughter faded. The first explosions came without warning. Mars' upper colonies vanished under incandescent flashes, their defense grids collapsing before they could signal distress. The Vorkan fleet moved with clinical precision, striking Luna next, its orbital stations shattered, their debris forming a silent ring of fire around the moon. Earth's night sky flickered red as fragments of its own satellites rained down like dying stars. The Galactic Council watched from afar, their broadcasts filled with rehearsed concern and hollow diplomacy. Statements of containment and de-escalation poured out while human lives evaporated in vacuum. The Vorkan commander, basking in victory, announced that resistance had ended. The Terrans are broken, he transmitted to the council. Their colonies burn, their spirit fades. Across the chamber halls, applause echoed. To them, the matter was settled. Another unruly species had been brought to order. Sanctions were drafted against Earth, forbidding military mobilization under the pretense of maintaining peace. Alien corporations rushed to stake claims on what remained of Sol's trade routes. They called it stabilization. On Earth, the streets were silent. No parades, no speeches, only quiet funerals broadcast through encrypted channels. Families mourned in silence, knowing their voices would not carry beyond the atmosphere. Governments dissolved their political facades overnight. A single directive replaced them all: survival. From frozen Antarctic vaults to orbital shipyards thought destroyed, humanity began rebuilding in the dark. The name given to the effort was whispered only once in public before being struck from all records: Project Homefront. Civilians became engineers, miners became machinists, scientists became weapons architects. Factories that once produced farm equipment now forged magnetic rails and fusion cores. Deep beneath the oceans, construction drones assembled vessels designed not for exploration, but for vengeance. Every city, every outpost, every satellite contributed in secrecy. No grand announcements. No symbols. Only purpose. The Council's monitors detected nothing unusual. To them, Earth was a wounded world crawling toward irrelevance. Even as trade ships vanished along Sol's fringe, they attributed it to debris fields and signal interference. The Vorkan fleet tightened its patrols, confident that the Terrans were contained. Their officers joked about ghost echoes, picked up near the Kuiper line, dismissing them as faulty sensors. When a scout ship vanished after reporting a faint pulse from Pluto's shadow, the incident was logged as a navigational malfunction. Months passed. The Vorkan commander prepared his report for the council, detailing the complete subjugation of the Sol system. He requested permission to withdraw half his fleet to pursue other economic interests. The authorization was granted immediately. No one questioned it. Humanity had gone silent, and silence meant defeat. But something subtle had shifted. Encrypted bursts began appearing across old radio frequencies, the kind used by early Terran explorers centuries ago. Random clicks. Sequences of dots and dashes. Harmless, indecipherable, irrelevant. The aliens ignored them. They didn't recognize the pattern. Morse code was a language they had never bothered to study. Deep within the frozen crust of Pluto, massive reactors hummed to life. Hidden beneath layers of ice and rock, rows of matte black vessels awoke from hibernation. Their hulls carried no insignias, no transponders, only the faint markings of Terran engineering. AI systems synced across thousands of kilometers in perfect silence, awaiting one signal. Earth itself remained dark, no transmissions, no political declarations, no signs of civilization visible from orbit. But under the oceans, beneath mountains, and within asteroids hollowed into fortresses, humanity prepared to answer. The Vorkan Empire celebrated the anniversary of their conquest with a public broadcast. Fireworks filled alien skies as their commander toasted the pacification of the Terran threat. His final words before the transmission cut to static were boastful, triumphant. "They will never rise again." Far beyond his reach, in the silent dark, a transmission left Pluto's surface, a single encoded message directed toward Earth. It contained only 3 words. Asterisk. Phase 1 complete. Asterisk. No council sensor detected it. No alien deciphered its meaning. But within Sol's heart, something vast and unseen began to move, and the era of humanity's silence quietly came to an end. Panic gripped the Galactic Council when reports began arriving from the outer sectors. Convoys destroyed, communication buoys shattered, and patrol fleets missing in regions long considered safe. At first, the Council dismissed it as piracy, yet the patterns were too precise, each strike surgical, each victim connected to the Vorkan occupation. Then came the impossible transmission, a distorted hologram showing a Vorkan shipyard engulfed in white fire. The blast expanded like a blooming sun, erasing half the orbital ring before the feed cut to static. Within hours, 3 more worlds reported similar annihilations. Every strike bore the same signature: untraceable, silent, absolute. Meetings escalated into chaos. The Council demanded explanations from the Vorkan Union, who swore they were under coordinated attack. Fragments of recovered wreckage showed alloys unknown to any database, laced with magnetically sealed plating resistant to standard scans. Analysts argued no primitive world could manufacture such material, yet the recovered fragments carried markings unmistakable to those who'd seen them before. Terran alphanumerics burned into the hull in microscopic engraving. Earth, thought crippled, had returned. The first verified footage came from a trade vessel orbiting Daskra 9. Its crew recorded a black silhouette emerging from the planet's night side, angular, lightless, predatory. No thrusters visible, no FTL flare detected. The ship released a swarm of kinetic projectiles that tore through orbital defenses in silence. Within minutes, the planetary grid collapsed, and before reinforcements arrived, the vessel vanished into the dark. The Council's analysts estimated its acceleration exceeded known drive limits by 40%. Every established theory failed to explain it. Across the galaxy, whispers spread: humans had developed shadow fleets. Rumors spoke of stolen alien tech reverse-engineered beyond original design. Council envoys demanded Earth explain the attacks, but their transmissions went unanswered. Instead, a signal appeared across open frequency bands in 100 systems simultaneously. A simple voice, mechanical yet human, spoke 4 words: asterisk. "You attacked our civilians!" Asterisk, then silence. The message looped for hours before vanishing, leaving entire star systems frozen in dread. The Vorkan command attempted retaliation, deploying a fleet of dreadnoughts toward Sol. None returned. Weeks later, fragments of their ships drifted beyond Neptune's orbit, charred and unrecognizable. In the debris, a probe was found still transmitting. It played a low, rhythmic pulse, heartbeat pattern, human. The Council called an emergency conclave. Some demanded full mobilization, others pleaded for negotiation, but the truth was already clear. The humans had achieved technological parity through sheer desperation and speed no empire could match. On a broadcast intercepted by a dozen species, a massive Terran vessel appeared briefly before the feed cut out. Analysts slowed the recording to reveal the ship's hull marked with 2 words: TDC resolution. The vessel's arrival at the Vorkan capital became legend. Orbital scanners captured its approach, then lost contact seconds before the entire defense grid collapsed. Survivors spoke of weaponry that bent gravity, of rail strikes traveling faster than light could track, of electronic warfare so complete it silenced even thought-driven networks. When the smoke cleared, the Vorkan homeworld skies were filled with drifting debris, but its cities still stood. No civilian centers had been hit. It was not extermination, it was humiliation. The Council could not comprehend such precision. Every human strike crippled infrastructure yet spared innocence. Their message was unmistakable: retribution, not conquest. Diplomatic channels flooded with fear. Empires once proud began preparing for war, though none dared admit their dread. The Council's archives filled with intercepted human signals, short, encrypted bursts of classical music before each assault, as though announcing arrival with echoes of an ancient world. Each melody was different, but one pattern never changed: the attacks always ceased once military targets fell. When questioned about humanity's motives, one elder statesman whispered the sentiment echoing through every chamber. They don't seek dominance. They seek justice. And somewhere beyond map space, fleets cloaked in darkness reloaded in silence, their vengeance only beginning. The coalition formed within weeks, an alliance of frightened empires united not by honor but by survival. They called it the Peacekeeping Armada, though every captain knew it was a war fleet. Hundreds of ships from every major species assembled at the edge of Sol space, confident in their numbers, certain that humanity could not withstand a direct assault. Their strategists mapped Earth's orbit, expecting scattered resistance at best. Yet when the fleet advanced past Neptune, the system appeared lifeless: no signals, no heat trails, no transmissions. Sensors showed only the cold glow of stars and drifting wreckage. The admirals hesitated, unsure whether they had arrived too late or too soon. Then the silence moved. From asteroid shadows, human vessels emerged without radiation signatures, hulls absorbing every wavelength. The first volleys came without warning. Massive tungsten slugs accelerated to near-light speeds, striking with such precision that capital ships split apart before shields activated. The initial reports described it as impossible. The following moments confirmed it as real. Coalition ships panicked, breaking formation as their own sensors were jammed by viral code injected into their networks. Every display flickered with a single repeating phrase: asterisk. We remember. Asterisk. The human strategy was beyond comprehension. They didn't fight to destroy, they fought to dismantle. Engines were disabled first, leaving ships adrift. Communication arrays followed, silenced in seconds. When boarding drones arrived, no biological troops accompanied them, only cold machines that moved with surgical coordination. Entire enemy crews found themselves alive but powerless, their ships seized without a single shot wasted. Within an hour, half the coalition fleet was rendered inert. The survivors fled, leaving behind derelicts marked with Terran insignias burned into the hulls. Across the galaxy, broadcasts of the massacre circulated despite censorship. Populations that once mocked humanity now demanded to know how a single system had created such terror. The council chamber grew quiet. Blame shifted from one species to another, accusations flying that someone had secretly armed the Terrans. Empires fractured under suspicion, treaties collapsed, and the unity that had defined the council began to unravel. Meanwhile, intercepted transmissions revealed something colder than war: a campaign of memory. Human drones broadcast recordings from the council session that had dismissed Earth's plea. The laughter of alien delegates echoed through captured systems, accompanied by a calm Terran voice reciting the names of every colony destroyed during the invasion. Entire planets were forced to listen as the proof of their arrogance looped across the stars. Fear replaced diplomacy. The Council attempted contact, sending envoys offering peace, reparations, and shared governance. None received replies. Terran signals continued their advance, appearing system by system, always the same pattern: disable weapons, broadcast the old laughter, then vanish. Even without bodies or faces, the psychological weight crushed the galaxy's morale. Smaller civilizations began to defect. Outlying species sent encrypted messages pleading for protection, promising allegiance to Earth. Humanity never responded, but none of those petitioners were ever attacked again. The meaning was clear: neutrality earned mercy. Resistance earned silence. In desperation, the Council deployed its final defense fleet around its capital world, sealing hyperspace gates and cutting trade lines. Yet the sense of inevitability thickened like fog. Every night new reports arrived: fleets gone dark, stations hijacked, power grids overridden. Humanity was no longer viewed as a species, it had become a myth whispered across every colony, a shadow that punished arrogance. In the council chamber, once alive with noise and pride, no one spoke above a whisper. The vast hall that had mocked the Terran envoy now stood under the weight of dread. Every console monitored Sol's border, waiting for the inevitable signal. When it came, it wasn't a fleet or a weapon, just a single transmission sent across the entire galactic network. A calm human voice said only, *. We decide when this ends. *. No one laughed. The Terran fleet emerged from hyperspace without warning, silent as death, its black hulls reflecting nothing. Council defense grids activated instinctively, but before they could lock on, every system went dark. Orbital cannons froze, targeting arrays flickered out, and the power that fueled 1,000 years of supremacy vanished into static. Panic spread through command towers as screens filled with human code, untranslatable, recursive, endless. Within moments, the greatest military bastion in the galaxy was blind. The Council capital looked up into its own sky and saw hundreds of Terran ships suspended in formation, unmoving, patient, waiting. No attack followed. Minutes stretched into hours. Then every device across the planet came alive, projecting a holographic signal. A human figure appeared, the same envoy once ridiculed and dismissed. His face was calm, his tone steady. You violated our home. You slaughtered civilians and called it order. You mocked our plea for peace. We are not here for revenge. We are here for memory. The voice echoed through cities, drifting through every street and household. There was no emotion in it, only certainty. Council leaders pleaded for negotiation, promising reparations, alliances, anything to avoid destruction. The envoy didn't answer them. Instead, orbital strikes carved patterns across the sky, lines of plasma so precise they disabled only military platforms, leaving civilian structures untouched. Every fleet in orbit was immobilized, every engine disabled. Humanity could have ended the Council within seconds, but instead they demonstrated restraint so absolute it terrified even those untouched by war. In the aftermath, a message spread across every communication channel, titled The Accords of Soul. It decreed that no developing species would ever again be colonized or coerced. It mandated the dismantling of invasive militaries and established autonomous sentinels, machines of Terran origin stationed across sectors to enforce the laws without bias. The Council, now powerless, signed the document under duress, yet with relief, knowing extinction would have been their alternative. Humanity's fleet withdrew immediately after the signatures were verified, leaving behind silence more haunting than conquest. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy shifted. Trade resumed under Terran oversight. Refugee worlds were restored, protected by invisible watchers. Entire empires reorganized their doctrines, rewriting history to portray the Terran conflict as a mutual misunderstanding rather than an annihilation narrowly avoided. But the truth endured in private whispers. Humanity had returned from ruin and held the galaxy in its grasp, not by domination but by unshakable will. The Council's capital bore scars impossible to erase. The once pristine spires remained blackened where precision strikes had licked across their surfaces. Citizens walked beneath them in uneasy quiet, glancing often at the sky where faint glimmers of Terran sentinels orbited like distant stars. None dared protest their presence. Crime vanished, piracy ceased, and border wars ended overnight. Peace had been imposed by fear, yet that fear kept civilization intact. Generations later, students studied the event as a lesson in humility. Textbooks called it the Terran correction. Political leaders invoked it whenever arrogance threatened balance. The old recordings of the envoy's speech became sacred to some, heretical to others. Scholars debated whether humanity still existed as flesh or had ascended into something beyond comprehension. None truly knew. The fleets were never seen again, but their machines remained, watching, unblinking. And sometimes, when the Council chamber convened, static filled the comms for a fraction of a second, a faint heartbeat pulse that no engineer could trace. It came irregularly, as if to remind them that the watchers still listened. Beneath the great spire's foundation, a monument marked the end of the war, a single metallic plaque bearing Earth's emblem and 2 words engraved deep enough to survive millennia. Never again. Above it, in the endless dark, a Terran sentinel drifted in perfect silence, its sensors always fixed on the world that once laughed at humanity. It never moved, never spoke, and never fired. It didn't need to. Every species remembered what had happened the last time Earth was underestimated.